Hey, what's going on, little dragons? How are you feeling today? If you're feeling good, please do let me know down in the comments below. Drop a like on this video, share this video with your friends and family, and don't forget to punch that subscribe button, as it will help your little dragon out so very much. Now, Adolf Hitler, what you saying, little fish? Just my little fishes, what they're doing in there, just making noise, man. They're busy making this video, man. Adolf Hitler, man. Oh god. It's the part two. We haven't got down to the Nazis yet. We haven't got down to the is it swastika? We haven't got down to that yet. We just about got to we just now got to his earlier life and a bit about World War One. Something that surprised me, he was actually part of the army in World War One, so that's where we left off last time as well. Yeah, the defeat, Germany's defeat in World War One, and you know, Hitler's changes is what I'm expecting is going to be the second part to that video, or this video itself. But that's where it's going to lead into World War Two, and obviously through a bunch of stages. Some of those we actually know already, but there's going to be like some of the behind the scenes, or more about just him, and then, you know, obviously how he ends his own life. Wow, even though we know like if we map it and we know it like briefly, I basically know it briefly. Everyone in the world knows the story briefly, but in detail, you know, some of the things that we have missed out and some things that might surprise us. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, hopefully it's as interesting as it's for you as it is for me. So yes, what we're waiting for, man. Let's hop right in. Okay, as I've mentioned in my last video, so I just have to mention it again, which is this is actually not the Oversimplified original channel. It's blocked in my country, it's blocked in the UK, therefore they've made another channel which has included these videos in. So I'm just making it clear that I'm going to be reacting to it which is a different channel that I'm watching. So if Oversimplified does end up not liking this being up there, we don't mind taking it down, man. We don't go against that. It's just their policy. This is their content I'm reacting to. I am just, you know, reacting and reviewing it. So the content obviously belongs to them. Just making that clear. But other than that, yeah, let's jump right in. Hope you enjoyed, man. Hope you enjoy. Boom. Part 2.
Since Germany's military had to be reduced, Hitler could no longer remain a soldier after the war, but he kept working for the army as an informant. After the war, communists in Germany had attempted a revolution, and the government was worried about communism in general. So Hitler was tasked with infiltrating and reporting on any new political parties that could pose a communist threat. A new party called the German Workers' Party threw up a whole bunch of red flags, so Hitler went along to one of their meetings, but found that they weren't communist at all. They were extreme right and shared many of his extreme beliefs, so he left the army and signed up to join the party. His fantastic speaking abilities impressed the party's leadership and supporters, and he very quickly rose to the top. Obviously. He decided the party needed a makeover, so he renamed it to the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi for short, and he gave it a new color scheme.
Nazis.
The Nazis weren't very specific on policy, but Hitler made extravagant promises to return Germany to its former glory by undoing the Treaty of Versailles and reuniting all ethnic Germans into one nation. He also said that only pure Aryan people should be allowed to be citizens, and that all Jews would lose their citizenship. These ideas were already common in extreme right politics, but what set the Nazis apart was Hitler himself, and they quickly became the leading party on the extreme right. Many of the political parties in Germany at the time had paramilitary wings, and the Nazis were no different. Hitler set up the very descriptive Whole Protection Detachment, later changed to the very delightful Gymnastic and Sports Division, and finally settling on the ominous Storm Detachment, or SA for short. Their job was to defend Nazi party meetings and intimidate political opponents, and they would frequently engage in battles with communists on the streets. Since the Allies had demanded a reduction in Germany's military size, many trained soldiers were left unemployed. They liked the Nazi ideology, and it was only natural for them to join the SA, which grew larger and larger over time. The new democratic government that formed after World War I was pretty weak and ineffective. In order to pay reparations to the Allies, it started printing more money. The problem is that printing money doesn't actually give a country more money, it just makes money less valuable. So as the country printed more and more money, it became worth less and less, and the currency cracked.
It's a thing called inflation, I believe, which is, if you know about money. But I can find a video about that. I'll definitely do a reaction. I read about it. It's like inflation. So the value of money always keeps going, you know, down. So like £100 right now and £100 before, the things that you could afford to buy with £100 before, you won't be able. £100 is not enough right now. It'll probably be £200. You know, same as like Coke bottles and Coca-Cola and, you know, Red Bull and all of that. The price keeps going up. This is all because of inflation. So bit of knowledge for you. I might do a reaction to a video. If you can find one, you know, do let me know in the comments. I'll definitely react to one of those. But or if I find one, I'll put it down in the comments so you guys could go check it out. But yeah, probably wouldn't have found one, but yeah, good. Let's go.
In 1919, $1 US was worth about 4 German marks. By December 1923, $1 US was equal to 4.2 trillion marks. The price of bread rose to 200 billion marks. Banknotes became worthless. Unsurprisingly, in such an economic crisis, Germany struggled to pay the Allies. The French were pissed about this, so they occupied the Ruhr, an area full of factories, and took the economic output from the area as payment. They treated the German civilians badly, and in total, approximately 130 Germans were killed during the occupation. Germans were furious, and Hitler and the Nazis thought that now would be a great time to lead a revolution. In November 1923, inspired by something a certain bold Italian man did a year earlier, Hitler stormed a meeting at a beer hall and called for an uprising against the government. With his supporters, he marched on the streets of Munich, hoping the police would join his side. They did not.
Obviously didn't shoot him.
Hitler was put on trial for treason. He could have been sentenced to life, but the right-wing judges thought he was a pretty cool guy. Hitler knew the judges and knew that they would be lenient, so he took the opportunity to make impassioned speeches during the trial. And in the end, he was sentenced to just 5 years in prison, of which he only served 9 months. And when I say prison, it was more like a pleasant hotel stay where he had plenty of time to write a book. The whole affair was covered by the media.
He wrote a book?
And it made Hitler...
What the hell? If that's translated in English, please do let me know that, man.
They're famous. Hitler and his extreme message were now known throughout Germany, but the everyday Germans still didn't care much for him. In the 1928 election, the Nazis only won about 2% of the vote. Many were still intimidated by all the violence and the shouting and how unpolitician-like he was. But a new economic crisis would change all of that. To help Germany pay its reparations, America agreed to give it loans. In October 1929, the Wall Street crash happened, and America wanted its money back. The economic strain this put on an already struggling Germany was severe. Unemployment skyrocketed, poverty was widespread, and Germans were sick of it. It was clear that the newly formed democracy wasn't working. In the face of crisis, Germans began moving to the political extremes. If you were German and wanted change, your choices now were either the communists or the Nazis. Hitler claimed that he was the only one who could return Germany to its former glory. The Nazi Party used propaganda to make Hitler seem like a great and powerful man, and they gave the German people a scapegoat to blame for all their suffering. The promise of a single strong dictator was a breath of fresh air for Germans after years of failing democracy. Some bought into his extreme ideology. Some didn't agree with the racism, but were willing to vote for him anyway. Many didn't know much about politics at all, but just got caught up in the hype. Election after election, the Nazis became more and more popular, until in 1932, they became the biggest party in the German parliament. Hitler came to truly believe that he was some sort of great, destined savior of Germany. He turned megalomaniac. He decided to run for president, and did surprisingly well, but still lost to the extremely popular World War I general, Paul von Hindenburg. Since he was now the leader of the biggest party though, he demanded President Hindenburg make him chancellor. But Hindenburg was reluctant, seeing that Hitler was clearly such a big racist. Industry leaders urged Hindenburg to give Hitler the chancellorship, fearing the rising support for communism, and leader of the Center Party von Papen, who had been secretly negotiating with Hitler, said to Hindenburg, "How about we make Hitler chancellor on the condition that I get to be vice-chancellor and most government jobs go to us moderate conservatives? That way, I'll get to keep my power, we'll get to keep our power and we'll control Hitler like he's our angry little puppet." What could possibly go wrong? As it turned out, everything. Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in January 1933, but he was not yet a dictator. In February, the German parliament building was set on fire. Historians still aren't sure who did it, and many suspect the Nazis did it themselves, but Hitler blamed the communists, and he convinced President Hindenburg to sign an emergency decree allowing him to imprison all communists and other political opponents. Communists and others were sent off to the first concentration camp in Dachau. At this time, the elderly President Hindenburg passed away, giving Hitler the perfect opportunity. He introduced a law to Parliament that would allow him to make all future laws and decisions entirely on his own. With his political opponents imprisoned and the SA intimidating others, Hitler's law passed. Just 2 months after becoming Chancellor, Hitler was now a dictator. He still had one problem. The leader of the SA wanted the SA to take over the job of the regular German army, and the German army didn't like that idea. Hitler needed to maintain the support of his professionally trained German army, more so than his rough and rowdy SA. So one night in June 1934, he had Röhm and many other of his own SA officers rounded up and murdered. While he was at it, he took the opportunity to brutally settle some personal scores as well. Politicians who had disagreed with him in the past, reporters who had printed negative articles about him, one guy who did absolutely nothing, but they thought he was someone else. In some cases, even their families were murdered. In total, up to 200 people were killed in what became known as the Night of the Long Knives. The army, now satisfied that they wouldn't be replaced, pledged total allegiance to their new Führer, and Hitler's control was now absolute. Life in Germany changed violently. Freedom of the press, expression, and public assembly were suspended. Jews were initially branded and their businesses boycotted, and eventually Hitler would go on to have 6 million Jewish men, women, and children killed in concentration camps. Hundreds of thousands of people were forced into sterilization for physical and mental imperfections. The Hitler Youth became a way to brainwash the young. Boys were trained to fight and returned home from camp violent. Girls were told their purpose was to have many pure Aryan children, and they would sometimes return from camp pregnant. When their parents were understandably horrified, their children would threaten to turn them over to the Gestapo for standing in the way of Germany's greatness. The standard greeting changed, and you could be sent to a concentration camp for not using it. This way, it seemed like everyone was a Nazi supporter. If you dared oppose Hitler or speak out against him in any way, you also would be sent to a concentration camp. German nationalism captivated the young Adolf. Extreme ideology and anti-Semitism festered in him as a young man living a hard life on the streets. Germany's defeat in the First World War filled him with hatred and a thirst for vengeance. A political movement that treated him like a god, and hundreds of thousands looking up to him as their savior, made him a megalomaniac. And soon, his aggressive foreign policies would drag the world into a second tragic global conflict, otherwise known as
World War II. That's it. Oh my days. Whew. Wow. Wow. Man. They say that, you know, it's obviously, I don't have to say it. There's nothing new that I'm going to say. They say that if the leader is right, then everything else, it all basically gets narrowed down to about one or few people. You know, the ones in charge, the ones in power, those are the ones that have, you know, control. And I like how they said that some people just voted for him because, you know, they just like the hype. That's what I meant. People just follow the crowd in front of them. A lot of people don't listen, a lot of people don't understand, a lot of people don't, you know, a lot of people don't care. They're just trying to get through life, you know. So if they were, you know, his people, they were just, you know, trying to get through life. Yeah, okay. And they didn't pay attention to what they voted for. And it makes no difference when it's like one or two, when it's like a whole, you know, regions and cities that are voting, like, you know, they just don't care. You know, they just didn't pay attention and they ended up voting and, you know, causing a huge tragedy to happen, and hopefully that leads to what you just said, World War II. So yeah, but imagine that, man. Imagine those times where he was in power. He's like a king, you know. He's like nobody can dare mess with him, or, you know, whatever. You just throw them or kill them, throw them in that concentration camp thing, you know, behead them or just shoot them on the streets. Like, who can ask him any questions? He's got the whole law in his pocket, right? He had that many people behind him. Adolf Hitler, man. Okay, yeah, there was some of these personal stories that didn't actually dive into. Obviously, it's oversimplified. They just made it like simple. But there is a movie called Rise to Evil. I don't remember it as well. I'll probably have to check it out again. But it does go into more depth, like, of him and some of the personal issues, of like marriage and those kind of issues that he's had to face. So it does go into that a bit more in those. And yeah, it's just how he's, yeah, he does have a glorious, well, it's not as glorious, but there are some moments, you know, of course, everybody has like good moments and bad moments. His good moments were probably very, very small, but he still did have some like glorious moments. They do express that in that film. So they obviously don't say it in this. Here, it's just all about the important stuff, you know, the what's to say, it's like this is the stem, you know, this is the stem of the flower. The other things that it could just be ignored, but these are the important bits that are covered in this, man. I like this. I really liked how this was how this was like put together and stuff. It's very, it's very depressing. Seriously, man, this is, I do really feel bad for all those people that had to die. God. I hope World War III doesn't happen, man. I swear, I'm really praying to hell that this World War III just doesn't happen, man. I can't take it anymore. It's just innocent civilians and people, just normal people, are the ones that are getting killed. Or the ones that are soldiers, you know, the ones that have to do it to protect their family. They're not bad people. But then there are bad people. I just don't like the fact that there are real bad people that just walk around and live happy lives. People that want to do something to serve their country. People that want to provide for their families. Those are the kinds of people that end up dying, man. So it does really suck, man. Okay, but yeah, if you find a copy of that book that he wrote in English, I definitely need to check that out, man. I definitely need to check that out. Or if I can find if you can find like a brief of that book as a YouTube video, someone just talking about it, that's even better, because I can hit two birds in one stone. You know, I can make a video for you of my reaction, as well as I can watch it and understand it myself. If it's a book, then I have to just read it myself. But if it's a video that I can check out, it'll be nice. If you guys have a recommendation for that, do indeed let me know down in the comments below, man. What do you think of this, man? What do you think of this? Obviously the video, it's great, but the thing in the video is not so great, obviously. So that's something that I know most people, you know, most people feel the same as me. But if you guys, you know, what made you get into all the history and stuff? What was it about history that really inspired you, really wanted you to learn more? Let me know stuff like that down in the comments. I really, you know, look forward to checking out, reading your ideas and where you know, which is it, what really like put you. Me is just the evolution, you know, how one thing to today, how the past has affected the present, and how things are changing for the present in order to make the future, you know, hopefully the future that we are envisioning, like what people have thought the future is going to be for all these years. That's where we're going, you know, like time travel and all that sort of stuff. And that can only happen if we all stick together. And you know, like, you know, out of the people that died, if an innocent person died, how do you know who that person is? You know, if you killed a baby, how do you know what that baby is? That baby could be the next Hitler, but that baby could also be the biggest scientist that could change the world. That baby could be the next Elon Musk, or the next Bill Gates, or the next, you know, it could be the next anybody. It could be the next president. How do you know? It could be the best person to ever live. It could be the person that changes the world. How do you know? And that potential you are destroying, you know, when you kill these people. Maybe this whole world today would be completely different if just one person there might have been a special one person that died during World War II, or during World War I, or during any of these wars, that could be the reason this whole world changed, and we could have flying jets, you know. You don't know. How do you know? Exactly. But then the opposite is true, right? They could have been the person that destroyed the world even faster. So I can't really say. But that's crazy. That's mad. That really is mad. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me know what you guys find interesting about history down in the comments below. We'd be interested to check it out. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for any more videos. I'll definitely be interested to check that out, man. Anything, it doesn't have to be history. My history playlist, some of the videos that I've done, mostly oversimplified, but I have done other videos, like there was one I did called History of the Entire World. That was really nice. So the playlist will be in the description below, so don't forget to go check that out. And yes, don't forget to punch a subscribe. Don't forget to punch a like on this video if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family, man. Hope you're all well, hope you're all safe. Stay home, stay safe, stay blessed, stay awesome, my little dragons. And I'll definitely see you all in the next